Well, it's so good to be back again this week. I hope everyone in the United States had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm just returning from, I feel like I've just been doing nothing but traveling, and I've been, went to California and then back to the Midwest and was teaching in both places and visiting with family. So it's good. It's good to come back home. So in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I thought we might start by speaking a little bit about gratitude. And of course, I would like to start off this evening's satsang by thanking everyone for the generous donations. So this satsang it's supported by donation. If you feel moved to support the sangha, if you feel blessed, through this program, then please visit the website craigholliday.com and offer your donation so that others out there may receive these teachings and be touched just like you. That way this Dharma can spread throughout the world, A special thanks to Alex. Thank you, Alex, and Butch, and Ralph, and Suresh, out there, and he's out in the Caribbean. Thank you, Suresh, and Katrin, thank you so much for your generous donation. It was very kind of you, very kind of you. And so thank you all for supporting this with your hearts, with your love, with the kind words and the emails. I do feel so deeply connected to you. So thank you all so much, so much. I'd like to also share that I'm having a retreat coming up. This January, it'll be in Carbondale, Colorado. My retreats tend to be quite intimate. And so there'll be plenty of space there. It's at this beautiful yoga center in Carbondale, which is outside of Aspen. And so if you want to take a deeper leap on the spiritual path, I encourage you to join us. A retreat is this wonderful time where we stop everything, press the pause button on our busy daily lives, and we give ourselves permission to dive deeply into our heart, dive deeply into the silence of our being. And so please, I encourage you, if your heart feels called, then join us. Join us on retreat. There's plenty of space available, and there's scholarships if you can't afford the full price. I don't want anyone to feel as if they can't come. So if your heart is calling you, then please come and join us for this wonderful, it'll be a 3-day meditation retreat. And so those are the announcements. And so I thought we'd start, like we normally start, just through practicing letting go. And so I'm going to invite you to take some deep, full belly breath. And give yourself permission to really let go. So you can do a big inhale and a big exhale. Just letting go of the day, the week, all the busyness, let go of the holidays or the stress or whatever it is that you've carried around. And so we're taking deep breaths and we're just breathing in and breathing out and letting go. And simultaneously, we're opening ourselves. We're opening the crown. We're opening the space of the mind, the space of the throat, the heart chakra. And we're giving ourselves permission to be open and receive, to receive something greater. Receive something greater. And so in this moment, can you receive the silence that's here, the love that's here, the feeling of community and support? So can you give yourself permission to be open to be loved, to feel, to experience. And say yes, yes to this moment. Yes to the light of your heart. And so I invite you, have your eyes open or have them closed. And just feel this grace waking up. Feel yourself unattaching, detaching from the mind, from your emotions, and simultaneously opening and receiving this wonderful grace, this quiet presence of beauty and divinity that you are. So we're taking deep, full belly breaths, breathing in, breathing out, and then letting go of thoughts, letting go of emotions, and deepening into your essential nature, the space which is eternally quiet, eternally free. So we're opening the heart and feeling this quiet, innocent radiance of the heart. You're feeling the spaciousness of the mind, the space beyond thought. What is this space? What is this radiance that I am? Can you let go more deeply into this fundamental essence of I am? Feel, experience your primordial nature. It's beyond gender, beyond age, beyond name and form. So if you give yourself permission to simply breathe and feel and experience what it is you are. What is this I am that you are beyond name, beyond form, beyond conditioning? What is it that hears the sound of my voice? What is it that is awake and aware? Right here, right now. And so yes, we're letting go into this. We're experiencing the depth of our being, the spaciousness and the freedom of our being. We're giving ourselves permission to be unlimited, ineffable. So we're breathing, feeling. And so again, we can just gently open the crown chakra, give ourselves permission to be blessed by this light that is here. We welcome the Divine Mother into us. We welcome her grace, her light, her love. We welcome the awakening of our own divinity. We welcome the silence, the spaciousness of the Divine Father. So we are experiencing the truth of our being. So we open the crown and we call upon this grace. Mother, come into me. Grace, come into me. I make myself an empty conduit for your grace, for your light, for your love. We're welcoming this flow of divinity to clear each of the chakra centers, to clear out any obstructions or tightness or tension, and simultaneously to bless our being with light, with love. And so we're opening, inviting this grace to come down through the space of the third eye, through the throat, into the heart. Just imagining your heart exploding with light. Spread it out in every direction. Every direction. And this light is filling your torso. Going down through the solar plexus, down through the hara, through the pelvis, into the legs, the feet, the arms, the hand. And so we're welcoming this grace down from above and allowing it to come into us and to awaken our divine nature. Infuse us with a greater light, a greater love. And simultaneously, we're waking up in the feet and allowing this grace from the earth, from Mother Gaia, to come up from below, through the legs, through the pelvis, through the lower belly, and to merge. So heaven and earth, merging, making love in us, as us. And so your job is simply to be open, to be awake, to be receptive to what's here. So we're taking deep, full breaths and inviting this grace to come down from above, from heaven above. Inviting this grace to come up from the earth. The ascent and the descent. Enlivening us. Transforming our being. Raising our vibrational frequency. So we're breathing in and breathing out. Giving ourselves permission not to be the mind or the emotions or the conditioning, but to be the direct experience of this moment. What is it like to be the direct experience? Right here, right now. So give yourself permission to take some deep, full breaths. Breathing, feeling, and experiencing the hugeness of what you are. The vastness, the silence, absolute Buddha nature. Just breathing in and breathing out. And of course, noticing what's happening in each of the 7 chakra centers. Noticing if there's anywhere that's tight or tense. Noticing where you're holding yourself back. Can you give yourself permission just to let go and receive the hugeness of what you are in this moment? So we'll take a couple more deep, full belly breaths and just allowing this grace to shine out throughout the entirety of our being. Shine throughout the space of the head, the throat, the shoulders, the heart, the solar plexus, the belly, the pelvis, up and out the spine, shining down into the earth, up into heaven, inviting all of our friends and family, everyone we know and don't know, inviting the very earth itself to be blessed with this light that you are, with this light that you are. And so with that, I invite you as to gently open your eyes. And so I'll say, welcome, welcome Lynn and Ron and Helen and Regina and Susan. Welcome Linda and Ivy and Suzanne and Alex and Cesare and Katie and Brooke, Michelle. Welcome. It's so good to be here with you. And so as we continue the meditation with our eyes open, I invite you just to notice the subtle radiance. The subtle radiance you see. That this whole world is radiating with light. So if you come down into your heart and allow awareness to see through your heart, you literally see that the whole world is dancing with light. The whole world. You don't have to do psychedelics or ayahuasca or this drug or that drug. If you want to see this light, that the entire planet is made of light, all you have to do is come into your heart, empty your pain, and look out through the lens of the heart. You'll see love, you'll see light everywhere. See this innocent space of beauty everywhere. But of course, the opposite is true. When you look through the lens of suffering, through your emotional pain or your mental egoic conditioning, you don't see love, you don't see light. You see objects and you label them good or bad or mundane. And so I was reflecting, this last week because of Thanksgiving on gratitude. So gratitude is a state of being. It's a state of generosity and receptivity. It's a state of thankfulness, an acknowledgement of the divinity of this world. So many people, when they think of gratitude, they think about saying thank you and making a list of all the things they are thankful for. And that's a good start. That puts you in the right mind state. If you look at the mind, most of the time the mind is like I was saying before, it's looking for problems. It sees lack everywhere. And that's its job, is to see lack, because your mind is going to make sure that there's enough food in your belly, there's enough money in your bank account, so that you can have so that you survive in this world. And so the mind, it's not a bad thing. It's just a different kind of state of consciousness. But if you come down into the heart sees through the experience of love. It sees through the direct experience of love. And when you look out at life through the lens of love, through the experience of love, you see unity, you see oneness, you see this great, spacious, unified world which is here. And so I'm going to invite you to stay in the heart and to look around you and just notice, pick an object. And when you look at an object, if you notice, it's just gently dancing with light, dancing with radiance. This is the state of gratitude. The state of gratitude, you see things as they truly are, not as cold, dead objects, but as alive and dancing with light. Alive and dancing with light. You can play this funny game. I think it's a funny game. Is sometimes I'll look at something, that's vile, or quote unquote disgusting or difficult or painful, and see if I can see this beauty here. So this afternoon I was up on a ladder and I was cleaning out these gutters. And these gutters were filled with rotten leaves, leaves that had been sitting in water. Here in Colorado, the snow will melt and, the gutters fill up with leaves, and then the snow melts and the leaves rot, and then it freezes again. And so I was, scraping out the gutters so that they could drain properly and not be all clogged up with leaves. And the smell from these rotten leaves was just terrible. I mean, it's just, old rotten water. But what I saw, I just looked through the lens of my heart, through the experience of my heart. I saw this beauty in these brown leaves. I saw this beauty in this brown ice. I saw it just dancing with light, dancing with divinity. And I was carrying my ladder, as I was kind of walking along the side of the house. And I would see a drip of water. And it would just fall from the gutter. This perfect Zen-like moment. To be enlightened means you're with what is right here, right now. When it's snowing, you see the snow. When the leaf falls, you watch the leaf fall. When the wind blows, you feel the wind blow. There's no thought about it. There's simply the experience of it. And so when we're in this state of open-hearted gratitude, we feel one with this radiance. We see it, we feel it everywhere. We're not complaining, we're not struggling, we're not arguing with something which is not present. We're not in the past, we're not in the future. And so to truly be in a state of gratitude, you must be here. You must be here fully. Absolutely here. You cannot be there in the past. You cannot be there in the future. You have to be here in this moment. And as you step into this moment, just notice what's here. What's here? And so many people are avoiding this moment because their body is in pain. And so then they try to go into the past or go into the future. But even with pain, even with difficulty, when you step into the difficulty and experience the wisdom of no escape, you find that pain too opens up. Pain too is radiant. It's alive. It's dancing with energy. It wants to move. It wants to flow. And so this is the invitation to step into this. Whatever it is you're experiencing, right here, right now. And so I have, a bunch of questions this week. And of course, as always, if there's anyone here who wants to ask for the mic and ask a question, you're welcome to do that. And if you want to just type a question, you're welcome to do that as well. But I'll just get into the first question that I have here. This one's from Micah in Germany. Micah writes, Craig, can we feel emotions from other people? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So through the law of oneness, you are one with everything. But you also have an individuality. And so in your individual nature, you have a heart. And your heart is basically, it's a sensitive instrument. It's the sensing instrument of God in matter. Of God in matter. And so if you are in a room and I'm in a room, and if you are angry and my heart is open and I'm in my heart, I'm probably going to feel your anger. And, of course, vice versa is true. If you're in your heart and I'm, angry or having a tantrum inside, you'll probably feel what's happening in me. And so, most couples have this experience. If you go on a car ride with your partner, and if they're really happy, their happiness is contagious. You'll begin to feel their happiness in your heart. If they're really stressed out, you might feel the tension, the heaviness in the air. What most people do, though, is when they hear this teaching, instead of opening more, they tend to shut down and become scared because they have this thought that other people's negative emotions can affect me. And yes, it's true if you're just identified with your sensitivity. And there's a lot of highly sensitive spiritual people on the path. If you're just identified with sensitivity and you're around people who are in pain, you will suffer. If you ever look at jobs in like community mental health, nonprofit work, there is huge burnout there. Tremendous burnout. It's hard for people to work, more than 1 or 2 or 3 years in those fields because you feel the pain. The practitioner tends to feel the pain of the people they are working with. But one of the ways for us to work with this or learn to work with this is through identifying with or waking up to the hugeness of what you are. When you begin to realize that you are the spacious witness, spacious, awake, aware presence, you will feel more, but it will bother you less. That's a quote from Ken Wilber. You will feel more, but it will bother you less. And so in order to live in this way, you must know what you are beyond your sensitivity. You must know that your heart is the very movement of love. It's not simply a feeling instrument. That's one of its qualities. But your heart is this huge, intelligent, loving, compassionate presence. The key word there is huge. And when you realize your backbone, how strong you are, when you wake up deep in the belly, no experience will overwhelm you. How can space be overwhelmed? How can silence be overwhelmed? It's an impossibility. And so I invite you to let go into this. So great question, Micah. Is it possible to do some letting go work for, those who are struggling? Or is it more helpful to see them in their light and just radiate love towards them? Do both. Do both. You can help them let go, through just envisioning them and breathing deeply. And if they're open, that may help them. If they're not open, well, when someone resists love, when they resist your transmission, well, it's not that effective. But of course, as always, see them as light. But don't make that up as a construct in your head. When you look at others through the beauty and the innocence of your own heart, you're seeing them for what they truly are. This is one of the most healing things you can do. I tell every new teacher, every new counselor, therapist, or healer that I work with, this is the most important thing, is for you to see whoever is before you as God herself, to see their highest nature. Don't just see them in their human nature, in their pain, but see them in their highest nature, their divine nature. It's radically healing for you to see anyone and everyone in their highest nature. Whether it's a clerk at the store, the telemarketer calling you on the phone, your partner, your dog, your cat, a child you see, walking across the playground, whoever it is, see them as love. And this is easy when you're in your heart and you're not thinking or judging. You see goodness everywhere. It's not a construct. It's a way of being. It's a way of being. And so, yes, beautiful question. Here's a question from Michael. Michael wrote to me and he said that he went on a Ajashanti retreat and he started to begin to experience the letting go of the self and stepping into the space of no self. But simultaneously, he was having a dramatic kundalini awakening, and his body was, going through the kriyas, and basically that means his subtle energetic body was kind of dancing around a little bit. He said, my movements that I make when I meditate, these kriyas, sometimes people bounce a little bit or their head nods a little bit. Sometimes their hands go back. That's what happened with me, and my neck and throat went back. And so when you have lots of kundalini energy and you're on retreat, on some retreats, especially Zen retreats or Vipassana retreats, they try to tell you to ignore it or to knock it off, or there's kind of a sense that it's too much what you're doing. Of course, if you're on a retreat with me, it's totally fine. I mean, my retreats are small, and so it's not a big deal. And so what Michael was writing is, he was having these experiences, and so he had to, subtly repress his kundalini, so he had trouble letting go. He writes, I do not need instruction or techniques or a teacher. There is nothing more in the way of spiritual teachings or techniques that I feel called to learn. What I feel called to find is a guide or a companion familiar with Kundalini who holds the space so that I can fully and completely surrender. And I can trust that any support my body, mind needs will be available. And so he's looking for a retreat to go on, maybe a self-guided retreat, because he lives in a house, I think with children. He's a very busy life. And so the reason I'm bringing this question up is because a lot of people have asked me this in the past. They said, Craig, I'd like to do, a retreat, so that I could work with this awakening experience that I'm having, whether it's Kundalini or no self or whatever it is. And retreats are wonderful places for that. I mean, retreat is a time when you're choosing to stop, when you're choosing to fully let go, to put the, put the kids down, let mom or dad or sister, brother take care of them. And so, yes, Michael, I encourage you. I encourage you to go on retreat. Of course, find a teacher. I know you said you didn't want a teacher, but the way I work is I say everyone needs a teacher. And, sometimes people take offense to that. But life is a movement of intelligence. We live in an evolutionary world. We all need guides. We all need guides. Whether it's a formal teacher or life itself is the teacher. We must be open and receptive to instruction. And what you'll find is that within your body, when you're going through this energetic openings, your body is communicating to you. It's trying to tell you something. It's telling you, I'm stuck. I'm having trouble letting go. And so can we be humble enough to listen? To listen. What's happening in all 7 chakra centers? With Kundalini, it can only truly flow if all 7 chakra centers are open. And so it can be helpful to have a guide who can see, and by that I mean one who's intuitively open, who can see where you're stuck in each of the centers. One of the things about being human is we tend to have a shadow. Our shadow might involve thinking we know something that we don't. Thinking we're further along than we are. Thinking that it's often like there's something hidden within us that we cannot see. Sometimes my wife, she'll tell me the same thing like 3 or 4 times, but I can't hear it. And then I'll go and I'll listen to my teacher, and I'll come back to my wife and say, oh, my teacher said this. And she'll say, I say that to you all the time. And so that thing, whatever it was in my shadow. I wasn't able to hear it. I wasn't able to see it fully. But a good teacher, it helps to point things out. People have this, a silly bias against teachers. But we are all teachers. Life is this great teacher. If we're humble, we can admit, I don't know how to do this. Yet life is eternally showing us that there's another way to be open, another way to experience this greatness and this divinity that we are. And so, yes, Kundalini, I think, is one of the most difficult, challenging, and confusing experiences on the path. If your Kundalini awakens in a powerful way, it can be very confusing. Now, some people, their Kundalini awakens, and other people, they don't really have that experience. And that's fine. So no one needs to think that their Kundalini needs to awaken to truly awaken. You can experience the vast spaciousness of your being, the radiance of your heart, and have no relationship with kundalini. But Michael, this idea that you have to be on retreat, yes, I encourage you. Go on retreat with a good teacher, one you trust. Go on retreat in nature by yourself. See what comes. I encourage everyone to spend long periods of time in silence, in meditation, on retreat. It's me personally, I probably went on, 100 and something different retreats. I did about 40 or 50 with one teacher and then, a bunch with other teachers. I found it very helpful. Very helpful. When we have this space of humility, what you begin to find is your energetic body begins to open, it begins to relax, it begins to let go. If we think we know already, that actually closes the energetic body. And so giving yourself permission to be humble and to learn, to grow, is very supportive. Very supportive. But beyond this, many people have this idea, if I go on retreat and have this one great moment of spiritual awakening, I will be forever changed. And yes, that's true. But see, God makes you pay for it. God makes you pay for your grand experience. And by that I mean, when the retreat is over, if you want to remain awake, you must choose to remain awake while you are with your children, your busy life, with your wife or husband or whatever it is. We may have a moment of awakening where it feels as if we are forever changed, where we've opened to our absolute nature. But your relative nature sits on top of your absolute nature. Your relative nature being your body, your mind, your emotional world, your conditioning. If you don't free your body and your mind and your emotional nature and your psychology, then that great awakening that you had will simply fade into an experience. Great awakenings must be followed up with very clear, precise psychological work, inquiry work, letting go work, forgiveness work, healing work, body work, chiropractic work, whatever it is. I can't tell you how many times I went to the chiropractor to help my chakras open up and the kundalini channel to be this open conduit of grace. How many times I went to receive body work, massage. How many countless yoga classes I went to. You may wake up to your absolute nature, but in order, for you to experience this awakening that you're so deeply interested in your normal everyday life, you have to free your normal everyday life. You have to free your psychology. You have to heal your psychology. I've met so many individuals, thousands, who've had incredible experiences of awakening while on retreat. And then a day, a month, a year later, that experience is simply a memory. A memory. Sometimes a memory they can access and re-experience, re-step into this shift of perspective. But if we have, a lifestyle which is out of alignment with truth, or a way of being, or a big fat shadow, no amount of experience will actually change that. God makes us pay for it here on planet Earth. This is an evolutionary world. When we pay for something, and by that what I mean, when we do the integration work, we're actually grounding the absolute on this relative plane. That's the point of it. That's why God makes us work for it. So we can ground it into matter. Ground it into the collective consciousness. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. So that is a wonderful question. Okay, this one from Alex. Dear Craig, sometimes I experience hopelessness and despair. I think some of this sadness has been transferred from my parents and ancestors. How is this helping my spiritual growth? That's a great question. How is it helping my spiritual growth? Well, anything difficult, my friend, will make you strong. Anything difficult makes us strong, that's for certain. In Zen, they have this teaching about strong back. So every difficulty you meet with love, it makes you stronger. And so if we truly want to wake up in a way where you feel indestructible, where you experience yourself as a presence of true indestructibility, the groundless ground sometimes is how it's described in Buddhism. If you want to wake up to this depth of being, you have to walk through hell, my friend, and realize that it didn't harm you. It did not harm your innocence. It did not harm you. And so, Alex, my question to you, my friend, is there something within you which is beyond the hopelessness and despair? Is there something within you silently witnessing the hopelessness and untouched by it? Is there a presence within you that is so innocent and so free that it can allow the hopelessness of your parents to arise within your consciousness? Now, that's a great question to sit with. Most of us do not realize that our consciousness is so free, that the generational suffering of our parents and ancestors can arise within us. We are so free that any crazy thought can arise within us, any beautiful thought as well. We are so free that pain, sadness, guilt, anger, rage can arise within us. If we weren't free, if we were not spacious, if our mind was not inherently spacious, no thought could arise in it. If our mind was like a solid block, nothing could arise in it. But we're so free, we're so spacious, anything can arise within us. The feeling of another, the collective pain of our ancestors. Yes, and so instead of thinking, how is this helping my spiritual growth? I'm going to just invite you to look at what we are. We are absolute light, absolute freedom, absolute spaciousness, absolute innocence, and yet housed in living in a relative human body, an evolutionary body in an evolutionary world. And so in an evolutionary world, the sins of the fathers are passed on to the children. I'll say that differently. The homeostasis, the habits of those who lived before you are passed on to you. We have a habit of wearing clothing as being humans. That's one of the habits. That's a good habit. We're not all walking around naked, And so that habit is passed on. But so are all the other habits. Like you have the habit of combing your hair. The habit of this, the habit of that. We also have the habit of minds. I can remember very well when, I had thoughts that my grandfather had, my grandmother had. I was plagued with feelings of, similar thing, despair and lack and poverty. My ancestors came from Ireland and they lived through great poverty. So I could feel that poverty consciousness arise within me. And so when it does, your job is to be a bodhisattva and to meet it with love, my friend. Meet it with love. Beautiful question. When you meet everything with love, you discover that you are love itself. It's a beautiful thing. Hi, Adrian. Yes, it's good to see you, my friend. Hi, Craig. What if an old pattern style thinking comes up and becomes obsessive? It's a pattern that I haven't experienced in over a decade. Yeah, obsessive patterns are very interesting. It normally means there's great pain there. And so, you have to ask yourself, is it an obsessive pattern? Like drinking alcohol or, overeating or worrying about this or that? Is that what's happening within you? And of course, it's the same teaching as that I said with Alex. Can you meet this with love? Can you meet this with love? Can you open to it and see that there's nothing you need to do in relationship to the thought? Like if something's telling you to eat and eat more and eat more, or worry, I'm worried about money, I'm worried about money, I'm worried about money. So say with the example of worrying about money, oftentimes there's a place within one of our 7 chakra centers. Normally, if it's money, it's going to be the heart, not feeling safe in the world, maybe the solar plexus, the lower belly, again, feeling of not feeling safe in the world. And so our belly, our heart, our solar plexus, our being, like our human being, needs to be met with love. It needs to be met with a feeling of safety. And so can we bring a feeling of peace into despair, into the pain, into the sadness? Can we bring a feeling of love? And do this repeatedly. And so if we're obsessing about money or whatever it is, can we open our hearts to God and begin to realize we're held in grace? We're held in love. I have the same question from Marcel here in Germany. Thank you, Craig. Very much. You're always trying to help me. I feel there's no hope left. I've given myself up, Craig, and all hope. And so these are mind states. Sometimes mind states come forward and they last a day. Sometimes they last a month. Sometimes they last 10 years. But our job is to step into the presence of peace, spaciousness, love, and strength, and witness this pain that's coming forward. Witness the obsession. Witness the hopelessness. Witness the worry. Witness the desire. And say no. No to the obsession, but yes to that which is at the root of the obsession. So let's take alcoholism, for example. Alcoholism almost always has to do with escaping pain. And so there's something within us that needs peace. There's something within us that needs tenderness. There's something buried deep within our nature which needs to be loved. And so, Marcel, do not give up hope. You have a heart of gold, my friend. I encourage you to love yourself fully. Never give up. Adrian, the same with the obsessive thoughts. Smile at the obsessive thoughts. And then take a deep breath and see what's at the root of them. What's at the root? What's driving the obsession? Or the obsessive thinking. The obsessive thinking, a lot of times, again, has to do with anxiety. Anxiety oftentimes has to do with fear. And we can't just look at fear or look at our fear and say, oh, fear is bad. I'm going to transcend it. If it's obsessive, that means it's coming out in a neurotic way through your psychology. That means your psychology needs love. So there's something there within the childhood, within our adulthood, somewhere along the way, there was pain that wasn't fully experienced. And when pain isn't able to be fully experienced, it doesn't fully release. And so it just stays stuck within us. And if there's pain that's repressed or stuck within us, what it does is it will manifest in an obsessive disorder or obsessive thinking or anxiety or despair, because it's calling out to you for your love. It's inviting your heart to awaken. And so, yes, Alex, how is the pain of your parents going to help you grow? It's going to help you to wake up, my friend, when you see that there's something here beyond pain, yet willing to fully love. Willing to fully love. So thank you all. Those are all wonderful questions. Thanks for bringing those forward. Yes, hi, Carlos, Patricia, and Jeannie. Thanks, everyone, for joining. It's so good to see you all. I feel so honored to be here. Again, if you were touched by this broadcast, please, the Sangha could use some support. We've been upgrading our technology this last year, and we have great things we want to do and share. And so the more you support the Sangha, the more you support the community with your donations, the more people we can reach through these broadcasts. So thank you all for joining us. If of course, if you have a question, you're welcome to email them in. If you want to join us on retreat, please come. Please come out to Carbondale, Colorado this January. We'd love to see you there. So may peace be with you all. Thank you all for showing up with such big open hearts. I have so much love for you. Have a wonderful night or morning or whatever time of day it is for you. Good night.